Hello, you are watching Shalom World News. I'm Rory McLennan coming to you from Glasgow, Scotland. Here are the latest headlines from around the world. On Monday, a series of stabbings at a kindergarten claimed the lives of 6 people, including 3 children, in China's southern Guangdong province on Monday. The other victims are 2 parents and a teacher. 1 person also suffered injuries. Police have detained a 25-year-old man known by the surname of Wu in Lianjiang. Investigators described the incident as an instance of intentional assault, but have not provided any other information regarding a potential motive. The attack took place on Monday as parents were dropping off their children at summer camp. Footage of the incident on Chinese social media sparked outrage. While China forbids the use of firearms, there have been several knife assaults in recent years. After the US Supreme Court rejected affirmative action in higher education institutes, the American bishops are reiterating the significance of providing marginalized racial groups with access to education. Head of the Ad Hoc Committee Against Racism of the US Episcopate, Auxiliary Bishop Joseph Perry of Chicago, said in a statement on the 7th of July that education is a gift, an opportunity, and an essential component of democracy that is not always within the reach of all. He expressed his hope that Catholic higher education institutions will keep looking for ways to make education accessible and affordable for everyone, regardless of their background. All healthcare practitioners in Australia will soon be permitted to prescribe the pregnancy termination pill, and all pharmacies will be permitted to stock it. Current restrictions are due to be lifted in August. This will mean that medical professionals no longer need register and undertake rigorous certification requirements with MS Health, the drug's importer. Once the law is passed by states, all pharmacies will be able to administer MS2 step like any other medication, with nurse practitioners then being able to write the initial prescription for it. The abortion pill was first licensed for usage in Australia in 2006. However, it wasn't until 2012, when MS Health began importing it, that the availability of medical abortions widened significantly. On Monday, the 10th of July, Bishop Matthew Kukah of the Catholic Diocese of Sokoto in Nigeria said that the West African nation had seen the worst manifestation of corruption under the previous administration of President Muhammadu Buhari. He made this assertion while speaking at Edo Ekiti, the capital of Ekiti State, during a celebration honouring the founding president of Afe Babalola University. The bishop was giving a presentation on the future of constitutional democracy in Nigeria. The prelate stressed the need for people of integrity in the legal system, especially on the Supreme Court. He said Nigeria must develop politically and democratically, and every federal institution must reflect what is true of the country nationwide. The Daniel Ortega regime in Nicaragua continues to intensify its assault on the Catholic Church. The Chancellor of the Diocese of Ciuna was detained on Sunday the 9th of July in the capital city Managua. Father Fernando Zamora Silva is understood to have been arrested after Holy Mass presided over by Cardinal Leopoldo Brenes in San Luis Gonzaga Parish. The Pontifical Charity Foundation Aid to the Church in Need is urging the faithful to participate in a special prayer for peace in Nicaragua. On its website, the aid organisation has published a prayer for the Catholic faithful to invoke the Virgin of Concepcion's special protection over Nicaragua. According to a UK-based organisation, 2 Iranian pastors are now facing additional charges of damaging state security after recently being released from custody. According to Christian Solidarity Worldwide, Pastor Youssef Nadarkhani and another pastor from the Church of Iran are charged with undermining state security after a couple was pressured into incriminating them. Pastor Nadarkhani has been summoned to court on charges over the same. The organisation is calling for charges to be dropped. Separately, the government has sentenced well-known rapper Toomaj Salehi to 6 years and 3 months in prison. He was sentenced for his involvement in the protests following the death of 22-year-old Masa Amini in police custody after she was detained by morality police for improperly wearing the veil. In the early hours of Sunday, a fire broke out at the medieval St. George Church in the French town of Descartes, leaving the church severely damaged. According to a local newspaper, about 50 firefighters struggled to put out the flames. It is believed that lightning caused the fire in the church that dates back to the 12th century. Although artworks and holy items were saved, the roof and bell tower suffered severe damage in the blaze. St George's Church was declared a historical monument in 1926. Archbishop Vincent Jordi of Tours was set to celebrate Mass and noticed a towering column of smoke on his way to the medieval church. He added that the fire reminded him of the Notre Dame de Paris fire, referring to the monumental Parisian church, which was damaged by fire on the 15th of April in 2019. The Zimbabwe Catholic Bishops' Conference is calling on civilians in the African country to unite and remain resolute ahead of the August 23rd polls. The prelates issued a statement cautioning the faithful against allowing the elections to cause divisions in the country. The bishops described the upcoming polls in which the president, members of parliament and councillors are to be elected as a landmark in Zimbabwe's history. Encouraging all to exercise their democratic rights, the prelates urged the people to unite despite ideological differences. The bishops further called on politicians to be responsible in their rhetoric and avoid using inflammatory, politically charged or derogatory language. The New York Police Department arrested 2 people on Saturday following incidents at 2 Catholic churches in Brooklyn Diocese. At Resurrection Church in Brooklyn, a white marble statue of the Blessed Mother was spray-painted with black graffiti on the face, shoulders and hands. In connection with the act, 37-year-old Jonathan Bullock of Brooklyn was charged with criminal mischief as a hate crime. He was caught after 2 parishioners saw him in the act on Saturday. Separately, the same individual accused of defiling Astoria's St. Joseph's Catholic Church in June committed another offence on Saturday. The diocese said that the accused, Jaime Bonilla, entered the church and immediately started acting erratically, disturbing the youth choir practice and frightening children. However, the police were called and the 22-year-old from Queens was arrested and charged with criminal mischief. Over 60 human rights organisations, bar associations, academics and exiled Chinese human rights campaigners have sought international attention to the Chinese government's recent upsurge in the repression of human rights lawyers. In a joint statement, they called on the international community to urge Beijing to put an end to its crackdown on human rights lawyers and defenders and immediately and unconditionally release all those arbitrarily detained. United Nations experts are saying that the profession has effectively been criminalised in China. Reports reveal that at least 30 human rights lawyers have seen their practicing licences suspended or revoked entirely by the authorities since 2017. In the Indian state of Manipur, over 140 people have been killed in violence over the past 2 months. This was revealed by the state government in the Indian Supreme Court. The Chief Secretary of the state told the top court that 5,995 cases were filed and 6,745 people were taken into custody to bring the situation in Manipur under control. The government said there had been 5,000 incidents of arson since May. The Chief Secretary also told the court that 124 paramilitary units and 184 army columns have been deployed to restore peace. The state is now taking measures to relax the 2-month ban on internet access on a case-by-case basis. The state has been witnessing deadly clashes between the Hindu-dominated Meitei and mostly Christian Kuki tribal communities for the last 2 months. In Muslim-majority Pakistan, human rights activists are criticising the government for the delay in passing a law to ensure the autonomy of the Minority Commission before the tenure of the parliament ends in August. Former member of the National Committee for Minorities, Albert David, said there was no political will on the part of the government or political parties. He was speaking at a recent meeting to discuss the challenges faced by the National Commission for Minorities. The draft bill pending before the Assembly gives statutory powers to the Commission, which had 12 members in 2020. They included 2 Muslims and 3 members each from the Hindu and Christian communities. Last month, Federal Law and Justice Minister Azam Tanar said the government had no plans to extend the tenure of the National Assembly and elections would be held in October. In Spain, the General Coordinator of the National Defence of the Right of Conscientious Objection is objecting to the discrimination suffered by medical practitioners who are opposed to abortion. In a statement, attorney José Antonio Díez criticised the ruling of the Constitutional Court of Spain against medical workers who refused to abort children late in the term of pregnancy. Justices claimed that public health workers' objections violated the supposed right to abortion. Díez said the ruling distorts the nature and exercise of the fundamental right to conscientious objection. He said the court wants to force government doctors to act against their conscience and ethics. Dieth also expressed fears that the verdict could lead to the creation of a registry that could later be used to harass and discriminate against doctors. And those are your latest headlines. Do join us again tomorrow for more. And do remember, you can always visit swnews.org for more updates. Shalom.